Hello everyone, welcome back to Foundations of Shorthand, and we are now in our week 4. So, pang-apat na video discussion na po natin, and I hope that you're still with me. Ayan, so before we move on, please have with you your modules, and of course, have with you your stenopad as well as your ball pens, okay? Or your pencils. Okay, so in this video, we're going to have another set of new strokes. Mapag-aaralan natin ang iba't ibang uri ng strokes ulit dito sa lesson na to. Okay, so first, ano yung magiging unang lesson natin sa module na to? Sabi dyan sa inyong module, our lessons or topic for this lesson is all about the strokes of letters O, R, and L. And then, minor vowel omitted or the omitting of minor vowels. Na-explain ko na rin yan last time. The sound of short I, words with sound of short I, words that are brief form. So, ano yung brief form? I-explain din natin yan dito. Short and soft sound of A and E. And then, of course, lastly, we have the phrases. So, may mga special phrases tayo kung saan meron din silang sariling special strokes. Okay, so ayan, let's move on. So first, we have what we call the sound of ORL. So, recap lang dun sa nakaraan. Dun sa nakaraang video natin, we have learned the strokes of A and E, T and D, N and M, H and I and G, and then we have the I. Okay? So now let's have the O, R, L. So grupo, nakita po ninyo, grupo yan. So we have I, ayan, we have A, big circle, E, small circle, T, short slanting line, D, longer slanting line, N is a sleeping line, M is a longer sleeping line, H is the period on the first part of the word, and ING is the period at the last part of the word. So, sabi dyan sa inyong module that the symbols for O, R, and L are short forward under curve, differentiated by length. So, ano po yung tinatawag nilang undercurve? Ganito po yun. Differentiated by the length. Okay, so ganyan po yung stroke ng O, konting curve line, or this is what you call the upward hook. And then yung R, curve line na medyo mas mahaba, and then yung ating L ay siyang pinakamahaba na under curve. Okay, so we have forward under curve. So why do we say forward? Kasi pasulong. Ayan, hindi siya paurong. Okay? So pasulong, kaya siya forward. So now, let's move on to our words with the sound of letter O. So ayan, tulad ng sinasabi ko, please, make sure that you are writing it with me. Pwede nyo naman siyang i-post, right? Kung hindi ninyo naiintindihan, hindi ninyo nakuha, pwede po ninyong i-post yung ating video na ito para nang sa ganon ay gawin ninyo ng tama yung inyong mga strokes. Okay, so here we go. No. No? Ma'am, bakit magkasama yung no and no? Remember, in shorthand writing, we write what we hear. And now, no and no have the same sound. So, therefore, it means they have the same stroke. Okay, so, paano po malalaman pag transcribe? Paano po namin malalaman kung no na NO ba yan or KNO? Now, the answer is please use your common sense. When it says there that dun sa statement na itra-transcribe mo is I know right, alangan naman na I know right na I and then NO then right, would that be appropriate? O, diba? Common sense. May common sense naman tayong lahat. Malalaman ninyo yan. When you're finished transcribing it and you try to read it, makikita ninyo kung ano yung mas appropriate na gamitin. Either NO or KNO. So, now, Medyo napalayo na tayo. So, no, when you say no, what are the sounds that you hear when you say no? It's N and O. It's N, O. So, ano yung O natin? This. Hook. Ano yung N natin? Slipping line na maliit. So, let's put it together. We have N. Oops, sorry. We have N, and then we have O. No. Now, next, toe. 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 Now, what do we have in toe? It's T and O. So, where is our T? It's a slanting line. And where is our O? It's an upward hook. So, when we put it together, it should look like this. Ulitin ko lang. We have T and O. Toe. Now, do. Yung do naman, though it has G and H at the end of the yung UGH, wala silang sound. When you say do, ang narinig mo lang doon is yung D and O. Therefore, what you're going to transcribe is just the letter D, which is the D, and then the O, which is the O na upward hook. So, now let's put D, ayan, this one, and then O together, and that should look like this. Nakita niyo yung difference ng toe sa do? Next, we have home. We said that letter H is what we're going to write last. So, itong period na to, last nating ilalagay. And then, we have O. Ayan, sige, ipapakita ko. We have O, and we have M, and we have H. Okay, so now, let's put it together. Ayan. Ulitin ko. Okay, so that's home. Ma'am, bakit po nakahiga na yung O? Okay, so nandyan sa inyong module, sabi doon, tignan ninyo kung nasaan yung my star. Note, when the O is joined to the beginning of T, D, N, and M, it is written without an angle to make writing faster. So, sinusunod mo or hinaharap mo yung letter O mo sa patutunguhan mong susunod na stroke. So, since yung susunod na stroke mo is forward, pa right. So, ngayon, ang O mo, haharapin din niya yung right. Okay, so tingnan natin yung iba. Own. So, yung own, we have O and N. So, O and N. Owning, we have O. We have O, N, and then we have ING. Ulitin natin, mahaba masyado yung N. We have O, N, and then yung ating ING. Known. So, nasa na yung known natin? Yan, no. Now, let's add N. But, since sabi nga, nahaharapin ni O ang susunod niyang stroke, so, ang magiging stroke ng known would be like this. N-O-N. Naiintindihan po ba? Ngayon, kung may mga katanungan po kayo, please feel free to ask me, message me via messenger. Now, next, we have tone. So, we have T, O, and N. Walang sound yung I sa last. So, paano natin i-stroke niyan? We have T, and then O, and then N. So, nasan po yung O dyan, ma'am? Ito po yung O. Nakahiga na siya. Ulitin natin. Para makita ninyo, we have T, and then we have O, and then we have N. Tone. Nakuha po. Next, we have total. We have T-O-T-L. Total. Hindi kasi siya total. No, it's total. Remember that our founder is an Englishman. Therefore, may mga hindi tayo maiintindihan na rules and regulations when it comes to pronouncing words sa English. Because we Filipinos are used to pronouncing words how it is spelled, right? But here in English language or English dialect, may mga hindi ko maintindihan. Ang dami-dami nilang tinatanggal na words. And since ito yung ginagamit natin, we have to abide by their rules. Okay? So, when you say total in English language or English dialect, they say it or they pronounce it as total. Total. So, when you say total, T and L lang yun. Walang A. Walang total. It's total. Now, dito na pumapasok yung sinasabi natin na you write what you hear. So, since you did not hear A in the total, therefore, you do not write the stroke of it. Okay? So, nakuha po ba? So, since yung total natin is sa kanila total, so, magiging ganyan yung kanyang stroke. Ma'am, bakit nakataas na po ngayon yung U? Syempre, pataas naman po kasi yung T. Kaya, itisinango na J-O-U or yung upward hook ninyo is yung letter T. Okay, nakukuha na po ba? Next, we have note. So, note, wala na namang sound yung E sa last. So, we only have N for the N and then O and then T. Note. Oh, I'm sorry. Mali po pala yung aking pagkakasulat. Upward hook pala tayo. Sorry. N-O-T. Nalito na rin ako. So, ayan yung ating note. N-O-T. N-O-T. Note. Next, noting. We only add N-O-T. We add I-N-G. Okay? Next, mode. M-O-D. Mode. May moding ba na term? So, if ever na merong moding, we add ing there. But since there's none, then there's none. So, ayan. Those are our words with the sound of O. Now, let's move on to our next words or set of words which has the sound of R. Okay, so, ayan. R naman na tayo ngayon. Okay, so, ayan. R, ray. When you say ray, R, this is the stroke for R. And then yung ating A sound, which is represented by a big circle. So, we have R and A. Now, let's put them together. Your stroke should look like this. R, A. Ulitin natin. R, A. Rate. Rate. So, we have ray plus T. It should look like this yung inyong stroke. R, A, T. Rate. Now, you see, when you're stroking, there should be no unnecessary spaces there. Kasi, for example, yung ating rate, right? Nakita ninyo yung ating rate. Rate. Hindi pwedeng yung rate mo magiging ganyan. Kasi, ayan, there's a space there, meaning that's another stroke. Therefore, this stroke here is no longer read as rate. Nakuha po ba ninyo? So, dapat closely yung pagsusulat. Or baka mamaya gawin ninyong ganyan. O, di wala na. This is another stroke here. So, nakita po ninyo yung importante na kapag ka nagsusulat kayo, dapat walang unnecessary spaces na nailalagay kayo in between strokes. Malinaw po ba? So, let's move on. Raid. So, raid, we have R, A, D. Raid. Ulitin natin. Oops, sorry. Ulitin natin. We have R, A, D. Rain. So, we have R, A, N. Ulitin natin. R, A, N. Ulitin po natin. Last. R, A, N. Rain. Train. So, we have T, R, A, N. Rain. Train. Again. We have T, R, A, N. Train. Now, next. Trade. T, R, A, D. Trade. Ulit. T, R, A, D. Trade. Or, we have O and then R. That is how you stroke or. Or. We have O and R. You see the difference? O should always be smaller compared to R. Now, more. We have M for M, and then we have O, and then we have R. More. Ulitin po natin. M, O, R. More. Now next, row. So we have R and O. We only have R and O. How do you stroke them? We have R and O. Row. So kabaliktaran lang siya nung or, di ba? Row. Next, wrote. Wrote, though wrote starts with W, wala namang sound yung W. So directly, we move on to the first sound when you say the word wrote, which is R. So we have R, O, T. Wrote. Ulitin po natin. R, O, T. Road. Next, road. The same. Road. R, O, D. So, R, O, D. Walang sound ang letter A. So, how do we do it? We have R, O, D. Next, near. N, E, R. Ulit. N, E, R. Near. Ulit. N, E, R. Near. Next, dear. We have D, E, R. Dear. Ulit. D, E, R. Dear. Now, like next, we have right. So, the same as wrote, walang sound ang W there. So, let's start with R. For the right starts with the sound of R. Therefore, when you write it, it should look like this. R, and then we have I, and then we have T. Ulit. R, and then we have I, and then we have T. Right. Next, ride. So we have R, and then we have I, and then we have D. Ride. Try. We have T, R, and then we have I for try. Next, tried. We have T, we have R, we have I. We go up for letter D. Tried. Higher. Lastly, for the R sound, we have higher. I, R, and then we have the H. Nakita po ninyo yung ating higher? Ganyan po. Parang naging O na lang siya na merong extension yung kanyang kuwit. Yan. So, that's how we stroke R. Now, if you were not able to follow any or some of these strokes for each word, please repeat it. Balikan po ninyo yung mga parts kung saan hindi ninyo nakuha ng tama, and then try until you're able to do it properly, and then you write it on your steno pad. Okay? So now let's move on to your next set of words, and these are yung mga words for letter L. Ayan. L naman na po tayo ngayon. So, there. Saglit na maglagay tayo ng ano. Ish, ang pangit. I'm sorry about this. So, what we're going to do is just erase it. Bear with me for a while. I-erase ko lang itong para hindi kayo ma-distract. So, ayan. Okay, so okay na yan. So, lay. Lay, we have L and A. L and A. Next, late, we have L, A, and T. Li, we have L, E, and then your capital symbol. Leading, we have L, E, D, and then yung ing natin. Next, lane. We have L, A, and N. And N. Lane. Next, we have lean. L, E, N. Lean. Lie. We have L, and then your I. Lie. Light. We have L, we'll have I, and then T. Light. Next, line. We have L, we have I, and then N. Line. Dale. We have D, we have A, we have L, and then capital symbol. Mailing. M, A, L, and then ing. Low. We have L, and then O. Okay, so that's it for the words with the sound of ORL and yung strokes din ng ORL. Okay, so before we move on, please breathe in, breathe out. Okay, so kasi meron pa, marami-rami pa to eh. So now, let's move on to our next set of words. And these words are included in what we call the omitted vowel words or vowel omitted words. Okay, so ano yung ibig sabihin ng vowel omitted words? Nandyan po sa inyong module, ang sabi dyan, many words contain vowels that are barely pronounced in ordinary speech. Such vowels may be omitted from shorthand outlines if they do not contribute to speed readability. So, anong ibig sabihin nun? Kapag ka hindi siya naralagyan ng stress or hindi siya na-pronounce sa isang word, tanggalin mo na. Kasi nga, we use shorthand writing for us to be able to write faster. And one of the techniques they use to reach this goal is to omit or remove or not write the letters or the vowels that has no sound or does not contribute to the readability of that word. Nakuha po ninyo? So, when you say later, ayan, let's do later. Let's do later. Let's put it here. Okay, so ayan. So when you say later, later, ano yung natanggal doon? Yung letter E po. Later, later. When you say later, you have late, and then you have ter. Ngayon, yung T and R together is pronounced as ter. So you do not need the E there for you to be able to read that this is later. Okay? Next, leader. So we have lay, and then we have der. Lighter. We have light. Sorry. We have light, and then we have der. Next, we have reader. So we have read, R, E, D, and then we have the R. Next, we have dealer. We have D, we have D, and then E, and then L, and then R. That's how you write dealer. Next, we have trailer. So we have T-R-A-L-R. Trailer. Meter. We have M-E-T-R. Meter. Next, motor. Motor. So we have motor. Motor. Hindi siya motor, it's motor. So it's M-O-T-R. Motor. Motor. Next, total. So yung total natin, T-O-T-L. Total. Next, title. We have masyadong mahaba, I'm sorry. We have T-I-T-L. Title. Delay. Delay. So, hindi mo siya sinasabing delay. It's not delay. It's delay. So, when you say delay, you only need the D there for you to be able to distinguish that it's delay. And then we have L, and then lastly, A. Delay. Next, delight. So, we have D, L, I, T. Delight. Delight. Okay, so nakuha po ba? Kung hindi po ninyo nakuha, please, ayan, inuulit ko, go back to the word that you were not able to get the strokes right, and then try and repeat it again until you get it right. Okay, so now let's move on to our next set of words, which are the sounds of short I. Okay, so kung makikita ninyo dyan, sabi dito sa inyong module, the sound of the vowel I is represented by the shorthand E symbol. Phonetically, they are the same family of sounds. So, kung maalala ninyo, you write what you hear. Now, the letter E here, which is represented by our, this one, the small circle. Ito yung sound, kapag ka ang narinig mo is E, for example, hit, dig, diba? Yung vowel doon, though it's letter I in English, yung pag-spelling na gamit ang letters, it's letter I. But when you hear its sound as E. Nakuha po. Therefore, ang gagamitin mo na stroke is yung stroke na eto. Yung stroke na small circle that represents the E sound. Kasi nga, E sounds. Itong, wag po kayong malilito ha, itong I na ito, it's I sound. Yung E sound ng hit, dig, pit. Itong E na ito ang gagamitin. Okay? Kapag ka ang sound naman narinig mo is yung like, mic, might, fight, I. Yun, kung yung I ang sound na narinig mo, then ito ang gagamitin mong stroke. But kung ang narinig mo is E, may it be in English na E yan like feed or feet, or I yan in feet na F-I-T, or feet yan in F-E-A-T. It's the same sound that, it's the same sound as E, right? So, whatever the spelling is, ang importante doon, kung ang narinig mo na sound is E, ang isusulat mo na stroke is the small circle that represents the E sound. Nakuha po. So, now let's try some words that starts with E. I'm sorry, it doesn't start with E, but has the E sound. Okay? So, first, we have him. So, ano yung narinig when you say him? It's he, it's h, I, m. So, we have E. Oops, bakit? Anyari? Bakit nag-e-erase? Okay, so we have E, M. And then we have H. H, I, M. Him. Next, hit. We have E, T. And H. Hit. Next, hitting. We have hit. And then we have ing. Team. We have T, I, M. Team. And then we have our capital symbol. Did. D, I, D. Did. D, I, D. Did. Next, litter. Litter. We have L, I, T, R. Litter. Little. So we have L, I, T, L. Little. Next, knit. Oh, yan. Knit. May K ba doon? Wala po. Ang nandun lang is N, I, T. Knit. Nakuha po? So, those are our words for, our sample words for the sound of short I. So, short I, E sound, E ang gagamitin. Long I sound, I ang gagamitin. Okay? So now let's move on to our next part of the lesson, and this is where you need your brains. The zombies eat our brains. No, I'm just kidding. So next is what we call the brief form. According to your module, and sabi dyan, some of the most common words have abbreviated spelling called brief form. The 9 brief forms in this lesson are written with single shorthand symbols. Since these words occur often in our language, their brief forms are a major source of writing speed. They must be learned from instant recall and are highlighted in practice materials. Okay, so ano yung ibig sabihin po nun? So ngayon, may mga words tayo in English na kadalasang ginagamit. Madalas kong gamitin. Palagian siyang ginagamit. Almost every sentence nandito ay nandun yung word na to. So ngayon, ang ginawa nila, nagbigay sila ng abbreviated. Alam niyo po yung abbreviated? Shortcutted na mga strokes for this particular words, okay? So, yun yung tinatawag natin na brief form. So, for example, itong it and at, as you can see here, it's just represented by T. Whereas, kung isusulat natin yan ng buo, so, let's just copy this one first. Okay, so kung titignan ninyo dyan sa inyong module, makikita ninyo dyan yung letter, ay yung stroke ng it and at. So, it and at is represented by your T symbol. Diba? Kung it, ganyan, diba dapat? ET. But since this is what you call brief form, shortcut si it and at, naging T na lang. Now, ma'am, bakit it and at did one? Opo, dalawa po yung may symbol na T. Kung may nakita kang separate dun sa mga words na T or may solong T sign or forward slanting line, short forward slanting line, dun sa mga strokes that is representing the word it or at. Depending on what is appropriate or what is appropriate to use to complete the thought of your sentence. So, depende yon. Common sense na naman yan. Pag nandun, transcribe mo, sabi dun, yung nasa gitna, ano ba yung example? This is it. Oh, for example, this is it. Yun yung words. And then, di ba, sabi kasi parehas yung stroke ng it and at. Ano yung gagamitin ko? This is it at. This is it or this is at. Ano yung mas appropriate? Okay, so you have to analyze. Yun yung tinatawag natin na common sense. Tingnan niyo kung ano yung proper. Ano yung what would make sense? Is it the it or is it adding it or is it adding at? Okay? So now, let's move on to our next word. Oh, please, I am assuming that you are writing down everything. Right? Like this. It's it at equals, ayan, slanting line na paharap. Forward slanting line. Would. So, would is represented by our D stroke. D stroke. I is represented by your A circle. In is represented by your N stroke. In or not have the same strokes. Now next, is represented by your M stroke. Of is represented by your O stroke, soft O stroke. Our is represented by your R stroke. Will and well is represented by your L stroke, and A and an are represented by your period. So, ito yung sinasabi ko na when you're using H and ING strokes, you must write it near the body of the strokes. Kasi nga, ayan, meron tayong A and an na nakaseparate. For example, let's say, an apple. Oh, no. Teddy. Ano ba? A hen. Okay? So, paano yan isusulat in a shorthand or steno? It would be like this, a hen. So, may dalawang period. Ngayon, pag yan pinaghiwalay mo, kung yung hen na yan pinaghiwalay mo at magiging ganyan, o di wala na. Hindi na hen yan. Hindi na magiging hen yan. It's going to be a, n. A, di ba? E and N. So, it would be E, A, N. Oh, would that make sense? Of course not. So, that is why it is very important that when you're using H and ing stroke, you have to put it near the body of the strokes. Okay? Malinaw po ba? So, now, ayan. Hala, I hope na nasusundan po ninyo ako. So, kung may mga questions kayo, yan, feel free to message me. Inuulit-ulit kasi baka makalimutan po ninyo. So, now let's move on. Akala nyo tapos na, hindi pa po. So, yung mga brief forms na yan, there is no other way to be able to familiarize it other than writing it all the time. Kasi, di ba, nafa-familiarize ka. Once kasi na nagamit mo na yan in a sentence, once na nagamit mo na yan in writing, shorthand writing, then you will be able to familiarize yourselves with the strokes. So, kaya ko kayo nire-require na isulat yan sa inyong mga notebook para yan, para at least ma-experience nung kamay ninyo na isulat and then makita ng mga mata ninyo and then hopefully it will stick sa inyong mga brains. Okay? So now, let's move on. Oh, meron pa pala tayong tinatawag na brief form derivatives. So what is brief form derivatives? Ito yung mga words that are formulated when from. It is our words that parang yung root word ng mga words na to ay ang ating mga brief forms, di ba? Ito yung mga brief forms. It, would, I, in, not, etc., etc. Yan yung mga brief forms natin. Now, when you say brief form derivative, an example of this is yung word na willing. So, we have the brief form will, and then we have the stroke for ing. So, how will you do that? So, yung will, well, is represented by your L stroke, and now your ing is represented by the dot. So, that is how you're going to stroke willing. Okay po? So, naintindihan po yung brief forms. These are, kumbaga, shortcut na strokes or abbreviated strokes for words that are very commonly used in English. In English. Now, when you say brief form derivatives, these are words that are derived from yung ating mga brief forms. Okay? So, ayan. Now, let's move on. Akala nyo tapos na? Hindi pa. Hindi pa po tapos. Marami pa po. So, please bear with me. Ayan. Next, we have ano yung nandun sa inyong module? We have the short and soft sound of A and E. So, for the soft A sound, wala naman po tayong magiging problema dito kasi this is the same with yung inyong A sound. So, A and A have the same stroke, unlike ng I and E na merong magkaibang stroke. So, when you say man, ang stroke ng man is m, a, n, man. Next, had. We have a, d, and then your H. Next, hat. We have a, t, and then your H. Bakit parang alit ng ating a? I have a, t, then yung inyong H. Next, dad. D, a, d, dad. Ulitin natin. D, a, d, dad. Next, we have hammer. A, m, r, ham. Ha. So, h, a, m, r, hammer. Mat. We have m, a, t, and then your capital symbol. Don't forget your capital symbol. Next, matter. M, a, t, r. Ulitin natin. M, a, t, r. Matter. Ran. We have r, a, n. Ran. Ulitin natin. R, a, n. Ran. Ladder. We have L, A, D, R. Ladder. Medyo mabilis po ba? Anyway, I know, medyo nasasanay na rin kayo. Madali na lang yan, right? Now, kung medyo mabilis po ako, pakiulit na lang dun sa mga sinusulat ko. Dun sa part na pinagsulatan ko nung hindi nyo nakuha na strokes, okay? So, now, next, let's move on sa ating next set of words. We have the, ano yan? Soft A words. Soft A words. So, for the soft A words, first we have arm. So, arm. We have A, R, M. Ulitin natin. A, R, M. Ulitin natin. Ang laki ng R. A, R, M. Okay, so that's how you write arm. Now, ma'am, bakit ngayon nasa taas na yung, nasa taas na yung circle? Bakit hindi dito sa baba? Kasi, diba, it could be possible na ganyan yung pagsulat. But then, the explanation there is, pababa kasi yung susunod na stroke mo. Kaya, pababa, bumababa. Ayan, diba? So, dapat nasa taas yung A or yung circles mo. Kasi nga, pababa yung sunod na stroke. Not unlike nung ganyan, add. For example, yung ating add, 'di ba? O kasi pataas, kaya dapat nasa baba naman ngayon yung circle mo. So, kung pababa yung circle mo, dapat dito ka sa right. This is right, 'di ba? And this is left. Now, if your circle or the next stroke after your circle is pababa, dapat yung circle mo is from left to right to left and then your stroke. Ngayon, kung pataas naman, your circle should start from the left, right. Yan. So, dapat pa-under. Diba? Diba dito kasi under, up, stroke. Dito naman sa kabila, above, and then you circle, stroke. So, nakita ninyo yung difference? Under. Dito naman, above. Nakita po ninyo? Ulitin ko. We have under, and then we have above. Bakit? Kasi pataas yan, ito pababa. Kaya ganon yung army natin. Hindi siya magiging ganyan. Arm. Hindi ganyan, kundi magiging ganon. Okay? So, ayan. So, basta kapag ka R, L, ganyan, ano pa ba? R, L, O, yung stroke mo, nasa loob, nandun sa taas yung circle, hindi nasa baba. Okay? So, next, army. We have army. We already have arm. We already transcribed our stroke arm. A, ano ba yan? We have A, R, M. Now, let's add E. Next, harm. We have arm, and then your H. Harm. Next, heart. So, we have heart. Heart naman yan, hindi naman hurt. It's heart. We have A, R, T, and then your H. Next, art. Tanggalin mo lang yung H sa heart, magiging art. Alarm. So, we have A, L, A, R, alarm. Ulitin po natin. We have A, La, R, M. See? So, that is how you stroke yung ating mga sounds with short A. Soft A. Okay? So, now let's move on to our next part ng ating lesson. Dami, no? So, we have the soft and short E sounds. Kapit mga kapatid, malapit na tayong matapos. So, here are the words that have yung ating tinatawag na E sound. So, first, we have let. We have L, E, T. Let. Letting, we have L, E, T, ing or ing. Letter, we have L, E, T, R. Heading, we have E, D, H, and then your ing. Net, we have N, E, T. Net. Met, we have M, E, T. Met. Red, we have R, E, D. Red. Led, we have L, E, D. Led. Her, we have E, R, and then we have H. Hurt, we have E, R, T, and then your H. Hurting, nandyan na yung hurt. Now, all you need to do is add yung inyong ing. Okay, so now let's move on to our next and last part of this lesson. And that is what we call the phrases or brief form phrases. So these phrases are written as one word stroke. So for example, I will. We have, when you say I will, di ba meron tayong I, and then we have will. And these are yung tinatawag natin na brief forms. If you're going to check your modules, nandyan yan. Check ninyo yung inyong sinulat kung nagsulat man kayo, but you have to write. Yung I is represented by yung ating big circle, and then yung will is represented by our L circle. Now, if you're going to put together this in a phrase, this is what we call a brief form phrase. Bakit siya tinawag na brief form? Because these are putting together of two brief form words. Okay, so when you say I will, instead of writing it in a separate manner like this, but since they are both, the I and will are both brief forms, they are eligible to form what you call the brief form phrase. So yung I will natin magiging ganyan. They are, di ba? O, si ma'am, nakakalito na po. Bakit ganyan? Hindi ba pag ganyan ang stroke, magiging all, magiging al. Hindi yan all, ha? It's not all, it's al. Magiging al. So, yun din na naman pumapasok yung sinasabi natin na common sense. Now, pag binasa mo yung transcription mo at nakita mo na merong al doon and it does not go with what or it does not go with the thought of the sentence that you are transcribing, then ano pa? Di syempre, I will yan, basang balong, ganon. Diba? So next, will not. So nandito na yung will natin, which is represented by your L, and your not is represented by N. So let's put them together to create a brief form phrase that is written like this. So will not. Next, we have I will not. Let's just add the big circle that represent yung ating I, and then will, and then not. In our. So, yung our natin kanina, yung our, and ano yung isa pa? R is represented by yung ating R stroke. So, now, in is in and not is represented by yung N, right? So now in our, let's put together in and our, magiging in our, ganyan yung stroke, in our. Next, are in or are not. So we have are in or are not. I am, so we have am is represented by your M. So ngayon yung ating I and M put together, magiging am. But that's going to be translated into longhand as I am. Next, in it, we have in, it. It will. It will. Now, it will not. It will not. I would. I would. Ma'am, hindi ba add yan? Diba? Ma'am, di ba po add yan? Okay, so, kung babasahin ninyo ulit yung inyong module or yung inyong transcription and hindi, it does not go with the thought na lagyan ng add yung word or i-transcribe as add yung AD na yan, then ang transcription or ang nire-represent na word ng strokes na yan ay yung I would. Next, I would not. So, we have I would not. Of our, we have of our. Okay, so I think that's all for this video discussion. Medyo naparami yata tayo. But anyway, I'm hoping that you were able to understand the things that I discussed here, the things that I wrote here, you were able to follow. Kung may mga hindi kayo naintindihan, hindi kayo nasundan, try doing it on your own na backward yung video na ito. Ulitin po ninyo. But if ever na hindi pa rin ninyo talaga makuha, hindi ninyo maintindihan yung concept or yung kung paano siya gawin, please feel free to message me kasi medyo mahirap talaga itong subject na ito kung ganito na hindi face-to-face. But we will try to remedy. Kung hindi ninyo maintindihan, please message me sa messenger and I think we can schedule a meeting. We can schedule a meeting kung kailan kayo available, kung kailan ako available para nang sa ganun may turo ko ito ng maayos. Okay? So, aside from that, please don't close your minds into thinking that ang hirap, since ang hirap hindi mo na siya kayang gawin. No. I've been there. I was also very zero knowledge din ako when it comes to shorthand writing when I when I was enrolled in this subject, but slowly and gradually natutunan ko siya. All you really have to do is have patience and of course spend time reading your modules, watching these videos and writing. Writing is very important. The more you write, the more you become more familiar of these strokes, the more it will be easier for you to understand, to transcribe, and to use this shorthand writing. Okay, so that's it everyone. But before we end, I think we have to discuss your activities. So, ayan. Sabi, instruction, transcribe the following sentences to shorthand. Do not transcribe the underlined words. Copy the underlined word as it is when transcribing the sentences. Put your answers in a yellow paper. So first, let's do number 1. Nate will meet me in an hour. So, wala siyang, or no. Let's do, you and I are doing well at reading. So, you and I are doing well. You and I are doing well at reading. So, let's do it here. Saglit lang ha. Maglagay lang tayo ng para mas maintindihan. So, I'm going to answer one of the given activities. And then, saglit. Hindi pala. Para may guide kayo kung paano siya gagawin. So, you see, it's really very important for you to be able to watch these videos that I made, for you to be able to follow kung ano yung mga ginagawa dito. Okay? Kasi ang hirap na yung module lang ang basis ninyo. So, yung ating word ay yung ating, yung ating Control-C. So, transfer muna natin dito. Okay. So, ayan. Sorry po, medyo matagal. Okay, so, ayan. So, first, you and I are doing well at reading. Now, sabi doon, do not transcribe the words that are underlined. So, we're going to copy it as it is. You and I know. I, hindi na pala siya na ano. So, I is represented by our big circle. R is represented by your R. And then, doing is, kopyahin na lang natin. Well is represented by your L stroke. And at is represented by your T stroke. And then, reading, we have R, E, D, I-N-G. And then, of course, don't forget your period. So, ganyan dapat yung magiging output ninyo. Okay po ba? So, that's it everyone. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching and patience, of course, in trying to understand this subject. I hope you're enjoying it as well kahit na medyo mahirap. And I hope to see you also dun sa ating mga susunod pa na mga videos. So, good day and God bless.